Hey guys, and happy Monday. It is noon, so I guess it's good afternoon. I'm going to start by saying, yay on the homework. Y'all did fantastic. I think there was like one person who missed one itty bitty little thing. But for the most part, everybody got all of these right. So that is fantastic. It was pretty easy, right? So today I'm going to bust your bubble a little bit and show you that it's not always going to be that easy. So the reason that 1 through 5 were easy on the homework is because I just asked you for standard equation, or in 4 and 5 instance, I gave you standard equation. So today I'm going to talk about what happens when they're not in standard equation, meaning they're in general form. So there's this process, okay? We have to do this thing called complete the square. The nice thing about completing the square is it kind of takes on the same steps every time. So those of you who like to follow step by step, it follows those same step-by-step patterns each time, okay? So I'm going to try to make it as easy for you as possible. 7, I kind of like did it for you but left some blanks, and then 8 and 9 I'll work completely from beginning to end with you. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to take this form. It's called general form, this form right here. And we're going to get it into standard form, which is what we learned on Friday, which is like x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. We want it to look like that, okay, in the end. So we're going to try to like make parentheses happen and all this stuff, okay? So the first way we do this is we're going to group the x's and the y's. All right, so first group x's together and y's together. All right, so that means anything that has an x is going to be together. Anything that is a y is going to be together. So you see how this has an x and this has an x, so I wrote them beside each other. Now, you're always going to put plus and a blank. I'm actually going to literally put like a blank right there. Now, why does y squared not have parentheses? And it's because there's no like y term, like 5y, 2y, etc. So like you could just put parentheses like that if you want, but you know, that's not necessary, okay? And then the second thing is we want to get the constant. Let me say make sure, or move constant to right side of equal. All right, so if I move the 11 over, I have to add it, right? So this will cross out and then it becomes a positive 11 over here, okay? All right, so the first thing is you're going to group all the x's together and the y's together with parentheses and then put a blank after the second term. Now, we didn't have to do that with the y's here because it didn't have it, and then you're going to move the constant to the other side. All right, now here's kind of like the trick. All right, step 3 is you're going to take half of the middle number. Okay, so the middle term of this parentheses is 10x. We're going to take half of it. So you guys, what is negative 10x divided by 2, or half of negative 10? It's negative 5, right? Now, notice I am not putting it in the blank, okay? I'm going to write it under the blank. Okay? There's a reason for my madness. Just stick with me, okay? So what you then do with that number is you're going to square the baby number. All right, so we're going to take and we're going to square this number. So what is negative 5 squared? It is 25. Now, we literally just pulled that number out of thin air and put it in the equation. So if we do it to one side, we have to do it to the other. So that's, oh, I should have been doing that. Oopsie, my bad. I should have been doing it here. I should have written it here, sorry. The step 2 here is just like showing you how to write it. All right, because I pulled that out of thin air, I have to do it on the other side as well. Okay, because you know, like what you do to one side of an equation, you have to do to the other. So I have to keep this equation balanced. All right? All right, and so then my final two steps, okay, so the next step is I have to then figure out what this was, this parentheses, set of parentheses, before I squared it, okay? So that's kind of hard to understand without me showing you, but basically, what would it look like in this form right here? And so the shortcut answer is you literally bring the little number down, the baby number you wrote right here, you're going to bring it down right there. Okay, so that's kind of the point of writing that number down. All right, so step 5 should be write standard equation, and then in parentheses equate, and then using the small number. Okay, and then on the right side, you're going to actually add these two numbers together. So that gives me 11 plus 25 is 36. Okay? Now, that's the general form, the standard form. It's done. And let me just tell you what this means. If I have x minus 5 squared, if I wanted to get it in the form that it was in, that means I do x minus 5 times x minus 5. Y'all remember that? Squared means like write it twice. And then you would do x squared, negative 5x, negative 5x, and then plus 25. So x squared minus 10x, because you combine the like terms, plus 25. Do you see that this is this right here? Okay, so we're kind of working backwards. I'm trying to tell you how to go from this form back to the original form. And so basically it's just like that, taking half of that number. All right, so now let's see if we can make sense of the final answer. All right, so the center, do y'all remember the center comes from the parentheses? So the center is HK. So like this is your H, your K goes with the Y, so there isn't anything with Y, so it's 5, 0. Do you remember you always do the opposite when you're plucking it out of the equation? And then this is radius squared. Now it's hard for us to see that it's been squared, but it has. It's just part of the process. So again, we don't want to write 36 in here. We want to put r squared equals 36, so that means the radius is 6, right? If we square root that number. Okay? All right, let's do another one, because I know that's kind of a little weird when everything was done for us. Okay, let's do it from start to finish on this one, and this one doesn't have any zeros or anything, so you'll do it for each of them. All right, so step 1 is let's get the x's together. So x squared, and then my negative 4x, and then you put plus a blank. You will always put plus, because when we square a negative, it'll always become positive, and if we square a positive, it stays positive. Okay, so that'll always be a plus. All right, then we put a plus between them, and then we're going to group the y's. So y squared plus 12y plus blank. All right, now what do we do with the 9? If we want to, negative 9, if we want to take it over, do y'all agree it's going to now become positive 9? Now, do you see how I added a blank here and a blank here? Well, if I add just two random blanks in an equation, I also have to do it over here. Okay, so I have to keep it balanced. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to write it in standard form. Okay, so it's going to be x and y, and we have to figure out what goes in these blanks. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take half of this number. All right, so what is half of negative 4? Half of negative 4 is negative 2. Now notice that is not what's going in my blank, it's what's underneath it, because then what does it say? After we take the half and rewrite it down under the blank, we square it. All right, so then negative 2 squared is 4. Okay, then we're going to take half of this middle number as well. We're going to do the process again. half of 12 is 6, and then 6 squared is 36. Now, what do we write in these blanks over here? Well, we're going to write what we wrote in the blanks on the left side, because we just pulled 4 out of thin air and put it on the left side, and pulled 36 out of thin air and put it on the left side. We also have to put it over here. Okay? And so now we'll like clean it up to write our form, general form, or standard form, excuse me. All right, so you're literally going to take the number that's written here and you're going to plop it down. Now you do have to put the correct sign, okay? Because you're just saying, because I took half of this number, it's going to still be a negative. All right, now half of this number was a positive 6, so I literally just write it like I see it. And then this blank, I'm adding all of these together. So 36 plus 4 is 40, plus 9 is 49. And you're done. I guess I didn't technically need to put a blank here in this spot because I don't want to confuse you thinking you have to do that. The blanks are really in the second step. All right. So that's my answer. Okay. That is the standard form of the equation. Now let's see if we can pluck out the center and the radius. Now this is where you have to do the opposite signs. So this is my h, this is my k, and this is my r squared. So remember how you have to do opposite. So the center would be 2 here and negative 6, and the radius squared is 49. So what does that mean the radius was? That means 7, because if you took the square root of this, the square root of 49 is 7. Okay? All right, let's do it one more time and see if it kind of makes sense this last time. All right, let's group. Let's get a nice color. All right, let's group the x's together. So x squared plus 6x plus blank. So I've used the x's. And then y squared minus 4y plus blank equals, all right, take the constant over, so that's going to become a positive 27. And then plus blank, because I have to, keep the equation balanced. All right, I'm going to take half of these middle numbers. Now, the half of 6 is 3. I don't really worry about the x. I didn't say that, but you just kind of ignore the x. And then we square it, which is 9. Now, this is a negative, okay? So half of negative 4 is negative 2 squared, which is 4. And then I'm going to bring those same numbers over here. And you're pretty much done at this point. We just have to put it in the correct form. The hardest part is making sure the signs stay correct, and you take half and then square it. All right, so now we're going to put x, and we put squared on the outside, and y, and then squared on the outside. All right, so you're bringing this number down, literally exactly as you see it. So it's a plus 3. And then you bring this number exactly as you see it. It's a minus 2. And then we're going to add these up. So 27 plus 9 is 36, plus 4 is 40. Okay? And so now that is our standard form. And now it's like the quote-unquote easy kind. We can just pluck the center right out. So this is where you have to do the opposite. So negative 3 and 2, and our radius is the square root of 40. Okay? Now that's a little tough one because it's not a perfect square, right? Okay? Now, I'll remind you, because we've talked about this already, we're going to try to break down that perfect, see what perfect square goes into it. So 4 times 10. And which of those numbers is a perfect square? Well, 4 is a perfect square, right? So it should equal 2 root 10. So the best answer is 2 root 10, although I would accept 40 as well at this point in the game. Okay? So that's called completing the square. I think the biggest thing is writing the blanks. So it reminds you, because a lot of times students forget these 2 blanks over here. So if you write the blanks over on this side, you should also write them on the other side. Okay? So see if you can kind of follow my steps. Here they are again. You have 2 to try. And then I'm going to just quickly tell you how to do the last ones. Okay? You have 2 to try down here on your own. And then you'll have one more like these. Okay, so the last types of problems says, does the point 0.06 lie inside, outside, or on the circle whose equation is blah? And how do you know? All right, so one way is you could draw a circle. Okay, so let's draw, let me show you. So I'm going to draw a circle. The radius is 6 and the center is 0, 0. Okay, so I'm going to draw a graph. And my center is at 0, 0, and it was a radius of 6. And then I'm going to do my best, comical I know, to draw a circle. And then it says, does the point 0.06? Okay, so 0.6 would be this point right here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it lies on the circle. Okay? Now, how do you know? I could say because I graphed it. But do y'all see that because of my lack of artistry, or basically just human error, I'm not going to draw it perfectly every time. See how this kind of came in? It really should go out more. So like relying on a picture sometimes is not always the smartest thing. Now if it asked you about like 0.12, that clearly falls inside, or if it asked you a point like way out here, I think that'd be obvious as well. But like what if they asked you about this point right here? You know, it's kind of hard to tell. So in my experience, algebra is going to help us do it a little more accurately. So what I mean by that is, here is an x and here is an y. So just plug it into the formula. So plug this in for x and plug this in for y. So I'm going to go 0 squared plus 6 squared equals 36 and put a question mark. So that's, and I'm literally just going to go 0 squared is 0, 6 squared is 36, and 0 plus 36. So they equal each other. So if they equal each other, that means it's right on the circle. Okay? Well, let's do another one where, because there's going to be one of each. All right, so this one's x and this is y. So again, we could graph this if we wanted to. We could plot it at 3, -1, and then do a radius of 4 and plot it, but let's actually do it algebraically. So I'm going to plug the 3 in for x. I'm going to plug the 2 in for y. And then I'm going to see how it compares to the 16, okay? So 3 minus 3, remember with please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, we have to do the parentheses first. So we're going to do that subtraction and then square it. And so that would be 0 plus 9. Does that equal 16? And the answer is no. So it's not on the circle. So this is 9 and 16. So how does 9 compare to 16? Well, it's less than 16, right? So if it's less than, that means it's going to be inside the circle because it's less than the radius. Okay? So that means because it's less than, because of this symbol, it's inside the circle. Okay? And again, let me draw it really quickly just so you feel confident and understand what I'm doing. All right, so my center would be at 3 and -1. And my radius would be 4, right? Because this is my h and my k and my radius squared. So my radius would be 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so I'm going to do my best to draw the circle. That one's not that bad. And then it asked us about the point 3, 2. So 3, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And that clearly you can tell is inside the circle. So if you wanted to graph it, you certainly could. All right, and then number 12 should be outside, but let's see if that's the case. All right, here's my x and my y. Let's plug it into the formula. So I'm going to do 4 plus 1 squared plus -7 minus 3 squared equals 100. So that's 5 squared plus -10 squared equals 100. So 25 plus 100, I'm going to put a question mark over this, And then that's 125 is greater than 100. So because of greater than, it would be outside. Okay. And again, I could plot that if I wanted to. I think y'all get the gist though. So 2 different ways to try these. You could do it graphically, or some of you, if you're like me, you might want to do it graphically after the algebra to check. If it's less than the radius squared, it's going to be inside. If it's greater than the radius squared, it's going to be outside. And if they equal each other like these two did, then it's going to be on the circle. Okay, so that's kind of a lot in this lesson, but hopefully you can rewatch things if you need to, or you could Google or YouTube some more if you felt like you needed to. But here are the 3 problems you're going to try. It was just the 3 at the bottom of the homework from the other day. All right, so you're going to try 6 and 7 where you have to do the blanks and everything. And then 8 is just plugging in and saying inside, outside, or on. All right. Y'all have a great day. Oh, and I didn't tell you, this is the last thing we're learning. So from here on out this week, we're just going to be practicing circles. And then we're going to have a little quiz on Thursday and we'll be done. So y'all are doing awesome. We're almost there.